afternoon, everyone. I am Moria a BEYA Stars and Stripes STEM ambassador. Welcome to the BEYA Stars and Stripes STEM Career Day, where we have an opportunity to learn about STEM professionals. Summer vacation is officially over, and and if you are a senior like me, you're probably thinking about the future. It can be a little overwhelming, but that is why we are here. Career Day gives you the information you need to help plan your future. We do more than just expose you to careers. We bring professionals that share tips and secrets that help them achieve success. We have had several professionals who, in some cases, didn't really like school or had trouble in STEM classes. We bring But they shared tips like getting tutors and mentors to help them in their weak areas. They shared different ways to get financial help when that was an obstacle. They also shared that while every step to a successful career is not easy, you keep pushing yourself through the challenging moments. You build self-confidence and strength, which motivates you even more. I am joined by a group of student ambassadors who are excited to take you through today's journey. Joy, please share information about you and introduce our Career Day founders.
Hi, I'm Joy from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I am a 12th grade student in Susquehanna Township High School. I enjoy working with technology, and that is why I love being a BEYA Stars and Stripes student ambassador. BEYA Stars and Stripes Career Day is streamed on STEM City USA, which is a 2D metaverse. Get ready for the STEM City Hackathon, Building the Future Today Challenge. This is an opportunity for you to build your own metaverse, and the winning design will live in STEM City USA. The BEYA Stars and Stripes Career Day was started by 4 founders, the first one being Dr. Tyrone Taborn. He started BEYA while being a teen like us over 40 years ago. He is writing a book called Mediquake USA, soon to be released. Brigadier General Velma Von Richardson is a legend in the corporate IT world and one of the first 10 women generals in the Army. Lieutenant General Bruce Crawford, U.S. Army retired, and Vice Admiral Walt Davis, U.S. Navy retired, are our chairman and our chairman emeritus, and they serve as mentors to students and teens like us from all across the country. Over to you, Lieutenant General Crawford.
Well, Joy, thanks so much for once again just an amazing introduction, and really appreciate your energy. I know that those that are plugged in here today and tuned in can really feel your passion. So thanks for that. So I just first and foremost just wanted to say welcome to everyone for what I think you're going to find to be an amazing experience. I just wanted to start in terms of our purpose here with a quote. And that quote is, and I quote, "The purpose is the reason that you're on this particular journey, but it's your passion that is the torch that lights your way." And that's philosopher Will Craig. And so today, and in the context of today, our purpose this morning is really about exposing you to information that ignites a passion for a career in STEM. So today we've got the honor of hearing from not only an accomplished consultant from Ernst & Young, but also, just as importantly, we have the opportunity to hear from someone today who's very passionate about doing what we're doing today, which is investing in the next greatest generation of leaders. And so finally today is really about an opportunity and providing you with an opportunity to hear from ordinary people who've done extraordinary things to really change the world. So that said, in the end, if you're listening today and you're an aspiring STEM professional, you ought to have just one question. And that one question ought to be, why not me? So that said, once again, thanks to everyone for being here. And I just wanted to say you're in for a real treat today. So that said, over to you, Hope.
Thank you, Lieutenant General Crawford, and might I add, what an amazing quote. Hi, I am Hope, a 12th grade student at Susquehanna Township High School and a BEYA Stars and Stripes ambassador. Today's guest career professional is Mr. Damon Butler. He is the CEO and co-founder of the Wilson A. Butler Academy. He is also a management consultant for Ernst & Young. Mr. Butler earned a Bachelor of Science degree in Applied Mathematics from North Carolina State University, a Master of Aeronautical Science from Embry-Riddle University, and a Master of Business Administration from Duke University. Mr. Butler also served his country as a captain with top secret in the United States Air Force. Mr. Butler founded the Butler Academy in 2010. Butler Academy seeks to bridge the achievement gap and increase the number of college graduates by providing a strong foundation in STEM. Over to you, Mr. Butler.
Thank you for that great introduction, Hope. And I really appreciate all of you for taking the time out on this Saturday afternoon. My name is Damon Butler, and I'm really excited to be here to share my journey and hopefully give you some tips and tricks. Today, we'll discuss the impact of STEM on my journey, lessons learned across the corporate, military, and nonprofit arenas that will help you as you begin your journey, and then some tips and tricks on how all of you can be successful. You know, Jay-Z gave you $1 million worth of game for $9.99. I'm going to try to give you 50 years of my experience in 15 minutes. So we're going to cover a lot in a short period of time. So if there are any questions, please feel free to put that in the chat. You know, as I think about life, my dad always talks about the first third is around learning. The second third is about earning. And the last third is about giving back. As Hope told you, I spent my first 30 years doing a lot of education. I graduated from a science and tech high school, earned a degree in applied mathematics, got a couple of master's degrees, served 6 years in the Air Force working with nuclear missiles. But it was really around how STEM impacted my problem solving ability, how I look at situations and look at problems. Math taught me to have a sequential process to break big problems into smaller and smaller pieces so that they're easier to solve. Now, before we get into the lessons learned, I just want to acknowledge to everyone that, the playing field isn't always going to be fair. Life isn't always going to be fair. And we'll all have different obstacles to overcome. But there's one thing that's the same for everyone, and that's time. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. And how are we going to use that time? Are you going to sleep in? Are you going to watch TV? Are you going to learn a new skill? I saw the quote behind General Crawford. It talked about challenge yourself today so you can reinvent yourself tomorrow. And I think that is so, so important. So I'm going to do my best to make this time spent with me as valuable as possible. And hopefully you'll have some tips and tricks along the way that you can use for your journey. Ray, can we bring up the slides, please? Excellent. So let's start off with the military and the lessons learned there. Meritocracy. Meritocracy is a big word that basically means people being judged on the basis of their ability. Meritocracy is one of the things that I love most about the military because your performance is judged on your own merit. And your performance was very transparent. How many push-ups did you do? How fast did you run? How many pull-ups could you do? How well did you do on the test? Imagine a job interview where there is no resume and there are no questions. Every day you just come in and start working. And every day your performance is evaluated against what you were yesterday and against your peers. How would you do in that environment? How would you feel at the end of every day if they interviewed you like they do at the end of football games and talked about, well, how did you do on the test today? Were you really prepared? Were you ready for everything? Message to Garcia. This is actually one of my favorite books, and it was required reading for anyone that worked for me. The book is very short and the concept quite simple. A colonel calls a lieutenant into his office and tells him to take the message to General Garcia in the Mexican army. The lieutenant salutes, takes the message, and goes off to find General Garcia. Now I ask you, how many times are you asked to do something and you just did it? Or do you ask 2 or 3 questions? Or do you tell the person who asked, well, isn't such and such better to do that job? Or, well, I would do it, but I have something else to do. One of the things I learned in the military, when you're given a task, get the job done. Also in the military, you train for war and you hope for peace. As I'm sure General Crawford can attest, we trained extremely hard for the worst scenarios. We trained in the extreme heat. We trained late at night because you never knew when war was going to come. As you bring this back to your high school or even college careers, how many of you will take a test and say, oh, that wasn't part of the syllabus, or I didn't know that was going to be on the test? How many of you prepare for all situations? As we go into the nonprofit arena, and Hope mentioned that I've done a couple of things. One is a real estate entrepreneur, and two is starting Butler Academy. And I heard this quote from one of our teachers that when your values are clear, your decisions are easy. You know, we talked earlier about everyone has the same 24 hours, but you have to decide how you use them. You have to decide what's important to you. You know, in high school, I knew some students that said they wanted to go to college, but they spent more time getting out of school than they did in class. Can people tell your values based on the decisions that you make? How are you going to make the world a better place? You know, I think that's part of all of our goals, to leave this world better than how we found it. I'm passionate about education, both inside and outside the classroom. About 15 years ago, I read an article about how the achievement gap grew in the summer, especially in poor neighborhoods. And the achievement gap is the test scores that you have during school versus the test scores that you have when you just come back from summer break. I surmised that some students had more opportunities to go to computer science camp or to go to math camp or to go to robotics camp. And so they didn't take 3 months off and not challenge their minds. I also think that kids are more engaged, that they learn more when they can experience it, when they can touch it, break it, really understand how it operates. So we started Butler Academy in 2010 with a pilot program in Southeast Raleigh. We teach students force and motion concepts through robotics and introduce them to STEM role models. If you can't see it, you can't be it. And so we want to give as much exposure as possible, similar to what the BEYA Stars and Stripes is doing. I think it's really important that you find a problem that's important to you so you can be ready to give back when the time comes. And finally, do what you can with what you have. You can always come up with a reason not to do something. There's not enough money. There's not enough time. There's not enough resources. I need help. Start with what you have, and you'll be surprised at how many people and how many resources will be there to support you. When I first started buying real estate property, I started with very low investment houses. We're talking $50,000, $60,000 for the house. So that means I only put down 10%, $5,000 or $6,000. Over the past 20 years, I flipped over 10 properties and currently have 3 rental properties. It's really important to start with where you are and work with what you have. In industry, I learned several things, but the things that really stuck with me: smart people get paid. People respect what they won't do, but they pay for what they can't do. Did you know that college graduates make $36,000 or 84% more per year than those with just a high school graduate degree? Did you know that college graduates make over $1 million more for their lifetime earnings? Just a couple of nuggets I thought you might want to know. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Networking is critical to climbing the corporate ladder. I'm part of the Life and Group Transformation practice at Ernst & Young, and we have a great team. When we start a consulting engagement, We sit down together to discuss expectations, roles, and responsibilities. We all have to be on the same page to bring the best solutions to our clients. Every day, I have to decide how to invest my time. We have to decide how to invest our time. I choose to invest in accounts, relationships, and people. If it's not a good investment of my time or resources, then I'm wasting my time. And that's why I thought it was so important to be with you here today, because I know how much potential you have. General Crawford talked about the next greatest generation, and I want to be part of helping to shape and form that and inspire that. So, career day. What is the typical day like for a consultant? So, in a typical day, I work 11 hours. I spend 7 hours on engagement delivery, working with clients, and 4 hours on business development, working with prospects. Our team focuses on large-scale transformations within the insurance industry. After you sell an engagement, you need to deliver on the promises that you made to the clients. And you also need to invest in the team that's going to deliver. So I spend my morning time in huddles with different teams to make sure that the team is clear on the activities for the day. Then we have working sessions with the client to dig deeper into their issues and analysis, coming up with recommendations, understand the analytics and the data behind the details. We are a fact-based family. And so it's a lot easier to give recommendations when you're using the math and the key performance metrics from the client. In the afternoon, I review our team's client deliverables and prepare for the next day. I also need to find time to find new business. Who are the companies that are looking to transform? Who are the companies that need to be better, faster, more efficient? What are the news articles that identify new opportunities? How do you stay current with what's going on in the marketplace? And finally, I'll end with some tips and tricks on how to be successful. Regardless of the field that you go into, I would highly recommend STEM, but regardless of the field that you go into or the industry that you go into, here's some things that I have learned on how you can be successful. To be 50 to 60% successful in life, just show up. Just be there. Just learn from osmosis. Soak up the information that is going on around you. To be 60 to 70% successful, show up on time. Have you ever watched an episode of Law and Order and you missed the beginning? You spend the rest of the time trying to figure out what happened, or was there a clue that you missed while the show is still going forward? To be 70 to 80% successful in life, show up on time, prepared. Have you read the material? In my case, are you ready for the meeting? Do you have paper, pencil, computer? Are you ready for that day's discussion, for that day's lesson? To be 80 to 90% successful, show up on time, prepared, with a game plan. What is your purpose? And thank you, General Crawford, for starting off with our purpose. Level setting, if you will. But that's still not enough. To be 90 to 100% successful in life, show up on time, prepared, with a game plan, and bring your talent. No one has the experience that you have. No one has gone through the things that you've gone through. No one has been through, learned from, and experienced all the things that you've experienced. So it's really important, whether it's within the team or for yourself, always bring your best every day. And with that, we'll open it up for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Butler, for sharing your career with us today. Thank you for inspiring us with your journey. Now is question and answer time. We want to take the next 15 minutes to find out a little more about what motivated you. We will do round robin with the question. Hope, please start us off.
I will gladly start us off. This is my favorite part of Career Day. Mr. Butler, what is it like at the Butler Academy?
Wow, that's a great question. I think it is learning personified. And so, we start off with robotic kits. We have about 30 minutes of, and I'll call it training, but it's really just understanding what the robots can do. And then we give the team a problem. And so the groups work in teams of 3 or 4, and they actually start programming the robots. And then after 2 hours, we come back and you have to demonstrate your robot's performance. And so not only do you learn from doing it right, you can also learn from how other teams have done it wrong. And so it's really an inspiring environment where you can touch it, break it, learn it, and you're learning on your own by actually doing it.
That sounds amazing. So much fun. What are 5 top things you learned from traveling?
5 top things. It's a great question. One is around different cultures. Sometimes we're very US centric and we forget that there's a broader world out there. And it's not just a different language, it's a different time to eat or different priorities in life. I've heard this running theme that, you work hard to make a lot of money so you can retire and not do anything, or so you can retire and not have to work so hard. And I think that there are other cultures that have a better balance of family and health and work and community. And so I think there's so much that we can learn from traveling abroad. I highly encourage everyone to do that. And whether it's just to a different state or to a different country, there's so much to learn. So we talked about the food, we talked about language, we talked about culture. And I would also add, just being in a different place can sometimes put you in a different mindset. And so being at the beach for me is very calming, very therapeutic. Uh, Being in another city and just seeing what other people are doing and what they're thinking about and what they're talking about really helps to inspire my creative juices. So hopefully that was 5, Hope.
Well, when you were presenting your slides, one message I got across from you was like the hard working and the grit behind whatever you want to do. And I was thinking about your culture. Have you ever had any setbacks because of your culture or your race?
There are always setbacks, and I can think about big setbacks where I didn't do well in a class or didn't do well on a test, but I'll even think about daily setbacks. And so what I tend to do every day is write down my top 5 things that I need to get done. And sometimes working out is in that top 5 list. And there's setbacks when either I don't make time or other things come up and you have to be flexible. But what I think about, major setbacks, here's a quote that I would hope everyone could use as I have. The bend in the road is only the end of the road if you fail to make the turn. And so there are going to be turns and obstacles. You just have to go with it. You're going to get knocked down and you have to get back up. And so every day is a chance for you to win that day.
That was an amazing quote. I'm definitely going to remember that and use that when it comes to my life. When did you first know you wanted to be in your career?
Wow, I'm still not sure. My career's not over. It's constantly evolving. As you've seen, I started off in the military and spent 6 years and thought I was going to retire as an Air Force officer. But I wanted to continue to challenge myself, and I went back to school. And then I thought I was going to be a sales trader on Wall Street. I actually spent a small time. I did an internship on Wall Street with Bear Stearns and loved everything except for the job. And then I wanted to learn more about corporate America. And so I went into a life insurance company and rotated around 6 or 7 different areas. And I loved that. I loved everything that I was doing. I was rising up the ranks. And a headhunter called and said, "You have an interesting experience, and there's a consulting firm that would like to talk to you." Had a couple of conversations with Ernst & Young, and I've been a consultant for the past 8 years, and I plan to retire with Ernst & Young. But if there's another opportunity, I always want to be ready for it and just do my best so that I can be prepared in case a new opportunity comes my way.
I think that's a very great answer. I love how you talked about like your different twists and turns in your career pathways and how some were unexpected. That's amazing. I think that's how life is.
It is.
How do you make yourself irreplaceable in your field?
That's a great question, and I struggle with that every day. I think it's a combination of things. One, it's about your network. It's not just about who you know, but it's about who knows you. And so, when there are opportunities, do they know to bring you in? Have you created that relationship with them? Do they know what your fastball is or what your specialty is? It's also about staying on top of new technology. My dad and I laugh all the time that when I was born, there was no internet. We had to go to the library to find out information. So being up to date with technology and being able to leverage technology, being up to date on the news and the things that are going on within your field, I think is really critical to becoming irreplaceable. Knowledge is the key, Hope. Knowledge.
Great. How do you use math in your daily life?
It's really about problem solving. So my last 2 years in college, the only number on a math test was question number one or question number two. And it was about how do you logically work through a problem. And so even today, when a company will come to us and say, we need to become better, faster, more efficient. Okay, so let's start with your current state. What is your current turnaround time? What are your current expenses? What are your current metrics? And then breaking that down into, well, how long does it take in this part of your process? How long does it take in that part? And so you drill down into these smaller and smaller areas and you break a big problem down into more digestible pieces.
Wow. Do you mentor other people?
All the time, every day.
Do you love it? What do you like? What do you like about mentoring other people?
So, specifically in consulting, and this is probably true in every career field, there are only so many hours in a day. There's only so much that I can do. And so I need to have a team that can make my footprint even larger. So when we go out and sell multi-million-dollar deals, I can't deliver them by myself. I need a team. I need seniors. I need managers. I need uh, analysts. I need a complete team that can help me deliver what's best for the client. And so it's really imperative for me to continue to help my team to develop their skills so that I can't move up until somebody can replace me. So, we talked about being irreplaceable. I actually want to be replaced. I want my team to move up and get promoted, and I want to move up and get promoted. And so that's how we work together.
I have a final question for you before you get to get a question in the air with my twin sister, Joy. Who is the top person in your career?
Oh goodness, there's so many top people, but I'll start and I'm gonna cheat a little bit and go with my parents, uh, and I choose them both because my dad is optimistic. My dad grew up one of 11 kids on a tobacco farm, and made his way to become a senior executive at the Securities and Exchange Commission. Worked 40 years in the government, really hardworking. My mom, so I was introduced to the military before the United States Air Force. My mom instilled that discipline, that drive, that you can always do more, you can always be better, challenge yourself. I remember coming home with a 95. I was happy. My mom was like, "Why didn't you get 100? Why did you miss that question?" And so it was humbling, but it also instilled in me the drive to do more and to accomplish more.
Wow, your parents seem very motivational. It was my pleasure to be able to question you, and your story, your journey is so interesting. Now I'm
Thank
going
you.
to pass it over to my twin sister. Thank you so much for your time.
Hi, my name is Joy, and I can't wait for these questions I have for you today. My first question is, what advice do you have for a young person who wants to do what you do?
That's a great question. So I think and I'm going to answer it in two parts. The first is continue to do your best every day. And so, you know, part of what I do is real estate entrepreneurship, and it's coming up with multiple revenue streams in addition to the day job. Part of what I do is Butler Academy, and finding something that's important to you, that's important to your family, something that you're passionate about, and giving your time and energy to it. And even as a consultant, I think it's around doing your best today. And so you can be better today than you were yesterday. And
Yeah.
so how many people are doing that on a daily basis?
Hmm.
How many people are challenging themselves to be better?
I definitely agree with that. Actually, like it really resonates with my mind too because I listen to a lot of motivational speakers and they have the same exact message that you just said, like challenge yourself to be better. What can you do that you aren't already doing to make yourself grow, to make yourself better? Um so my next question for you, which I am actually very interested in because I am a bookworm, I want to know, what book are you currently reading and why you're reading this book?
So, and again, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm actually going back to The Alchemist. So it's a book that I try to read every 2 to 3 years, and it just talks about your journey. It's a great book around. Uh, I don't want to give too much away, but it's written by Paulo Coelho, and it talks about the journey that you have in this life and what you're searching for and what's important to you.
Hmm. I definitely have to check that one out. I love reading books, so I'm definitely going to look that one up. My second question for you is, what is your life like Monday through Friday?
Monday through Friday, it's very hectic. So if you look on my calendar, it's all blue, which means there are a bunch of meetings.
Mm.
A lot of the meetings are with my internal team to make sure that we're ready to bring our best to the client. We also have some client meetings to make sure that we understand kind of where they are with respect to their transformation. I also have internal meetings. So with my leadership team, we have Chris Morbelli and Jennifer Hertz, who are two partners in the life and group transformation practice, making sure from an internal perspective. So we have our key metrics of utilization and make sure everyone on the team is utilized, and uh, sales targets. How are we going according to our plan? Are we above target? Are we below target?
Mm-hmm.
Which clients haven't we spoken to in a month or in a quarter or in 6 months? And so every day it's about an 11-hour day with 70% of the time going toward engagement delivery and working with the team and the clients, and 40% of the time reaching out and trying to find new business and new opportunities to sell more business.
That sounds great. It sounds like something that challenges you, you grow with, you have to be on point with. I love that.
You have to bring
Um,
your best every day, Joy.
yeah, yeah. So, what would you tell your 12-year-old self?
Wow. That's a great question. I would continually, what would I tell my 12-year-old self? Um, wow, that's a great question. I would, and I'm thinking back to the commercial with LeBron James and LeBron James from the
Aw,
future, going back to the high school LeBron
yeah.
James, and saying that you're ready. I think that there's so much time that you spend, uh, and I don't even want to call it second guessing yourself or doubting yourself, or
Mm,
are you good enough? And I think it's, you are good enough, and not to become comfortable, but to become even more motivated to do even more.
right.
I think about those opportunities. I've had multiple jobs. I've done a lot of education. Uh, as much as I've done, I think that there were times where I waited or I hesitated, and I probably could have taken leaps a little sooner.
Mm-hmm.
So to go for it. That would be my advice to my 12-year-old self.
I love that. I think it actually resonates a lot with us teenagers because sometimes as a teenager you have dreams and everything like that, and then you have people that tell you, "Oh, that's too far above you. Like, don't just be realistic." But I think that you can't second guess yourself because you can live up to those dreams if you put your mind to it and just go for it. So yeah, I really love your message right there. That really resonated with me a lot. So thank you for that. How important is hard work to you?
Hard work is really important. And I'm trying to remember the quote. The I think we're, as a culture, always looking for the short term win. We're always
Mhm.
looking for the quick win. We're always looking for the shortcut, but there really isn't one. Um, and no disrespect to those that have won the lottery, but the best way to become a millionaire is not to spend a dollar on the lottery. It's actually to invest in yourself, invest in your education, invest in and how to become better. And so when I think about hard work, it's a daily activity. Uh,
Right.
it's not something that you can say I'm a hard worker. You have to go out and prove it every day. And so again, it's one of the things that I loved about the military. You don't tell somebody that you're a hard worker. You don't tell someone that you're training to run a mile and a half or that you're working out. They see it. If you do 65 push-ups in 2 minutes, wow, he's been working out. If you do 17 pull-ups straight, oh wow, he's been working out. He's been putting in the time. I think a lot of times people think that there's some shortcut to success, but there's really not. You got to bring your best every day.
Yeah. That's so true. Also, I think with your careers like the military and the corporate world, they're super competitive. Like nothing's gonna be given to you. You have to go and take it yourself. So I think that is so right. Like how are you willing to go through the process in order to get to the part where you succeed?
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. In fact, I'll ask everyone out there, how many times do you wake up in the morning and hit the snooze button?
Mm-hmm.
What are you waiting for? The day's not stopping, time's not standing still. Like
Right.
those hours are going, and there's someone else. And I'll use an example from business school, and I was part of the admissions team. We would look at resumes for prospective students, and you look at students from other countries, from China, from India, and they had done so much more. And I just think about when they woke up at 5 in the morning, they started their day.
Mm-hmm.
How many of us are hitting that snooze and only getting, 18 hours of working time or 16 hours of working time? Uh, Kobe Bryant talks about how he outworked everyone in the NBA. He said,
Yes.
if I work out 2 hours in the morning and then I work out 2 hours in the evening, and you're only working out an hour, and then you compound that over 15, 16, 20 years, how much better are you going to be at your craft than that person who only put in 1 hour?
That is exactly right. The hardworking example when it comes to other countries is actually so cool that you brought it up because this week my Spanish teacher was telling me about how she was a missionary in Guatemala for 3 years, and she said the difference between um, the teenagers in the U.S. and the teenagers over there is that the teenagers in Guatemala they only have school for 3 hours because they have to do actual work all throughout the day. Like in the morning when they wake up out of school for the rest of the night, they're literally out there working, getting it done, plus doing their homework. So she really showed me that like there's always something more you can do. Um, Tell us about a time when you failed at something and what did you learn from it?
That's a great question. So I'll use a really personal example, and it's just the first one that popped into my head. Math 425, linear algebraic equations. No one has any reason to know that, but it was absolutely the most difficult class I've ever taken.
Hmm.
And I approached it as just another class. And I had heard and I had mentors that told me, hey, this is a difficult class. You're going to need to, you're really going to need to prepare for this. It's going to take something extra. And I knew everything in college. You don't have to tell me. I'm smart. I got this. Don't worry about it. And I failed Math 425. And what it taught me, listen to those that have come before you. They're passing knowledge. Learn from it. Don't make the same mistakes that the people that have come before you have made. And secondly, it was also about doing more. And so a lot of people don't know this, and if there are any teachers in the crowd, 80% of those students that use tutors are getting A's and B's in the class. They're not getting C's and D's. It's those people that want to do better and are striving versus, and I was a student, I had a D in the class, and I didn't go to a tutor because I felt ashamed to say I didn't know what was going on. I didn't feel I didn't feel adequate. I didn't feel smart enough to ask for help. And I think what I learned from that situation, it's usually the smartest people in the room that are asking the questions. And B, learn from the people that have come before you. And so if they tell you something's going to be tough, or I'll go way back. If they tell you that the stove is hot, do you really need to touch the stove to believe them? And so when you have people in your corner that have your best interests at heart, learn from them.
Yeah, that my mom used to be a teacher, so like what you just said, she used to tell me this stuff herself, and she reminds me of you because you guys, I feel like you guys both look at the people who aren't doing so well and try to inspire them to want to be better and make them realize, hey, you can do this too, because sometimes they don't try because they think, oh, I can't do it. But once they know that you can do it, now they want to try and like they get inspired and do really good. So I really love that. We have a question from the crowd. What tips do you have about posting on social media?
Well, again, I might be telling my age here. I don't post on social media. I have a strict 15-minute block on social media. So after 15 minutes, I can't surf Facebook. I can't surf TikTok or whatever the social medias are out there. I would tell you this though, and this is more from things that I've learned from corporate America. Everything you post on social media is out there forever.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I talk to my team about, if you don't want to see it in the Wall Street Journal, don't post it.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
And that goes for pictures, that goes for and look, and this is real talk. You have life insurance companies that are using social media to determine if someone is a smoker or determine their lifestyle. And so when you fill out a life insurance app and you say, oh, I don't smoke, and you have 3 pictures of a cigar or a cigarette or something else, they can charge you more for your life insurance. And so everything that you put in social media could be out there forever.
Exactly. That is so true. And I think as social media grows and everything, we have to realize we have to be smart with how much we're putting on there, what we're putting on there, and how is this going to help me for my future.
Love that.
Okay, so my twin sister has some more questions for you. So we're going to bring her back in. And yeah, hi, Hope.
Hi, I'm sorry. I just had to ask this question because I want to be in the consulting role when I grew up, and I was wondering what are like 3 personality traits that you think go right into consulting and that you think are critical to be a great consultant?
A great question. So I'm going to start with communication. You've got to be able to clearly communicate. 2, you've got to be able to take complex issues and be able to simplify them so that everyone can be on the same page. And 3, you got to be a critical thinker. Every client has different issues, and whether it's around their product or around their distribution or around their expense network. And so how are you thinking critically about solving their specific issues?
Right.
Wow, thank you.
That actually, I just want to say one thing. That makes so much sense because, well, I always watch Succession with my dad because that's what I want to be in the business world and everything. And the father, he says to Logan, "You have to be a killer. Like it's either you have to be a killer or you're not a killer. Like that's how you survive the business world." So that kind of reminded me of what you just said. Like you have to be able to do it. Like you have to go for it. So yeah.
Does confidence come into play when it comes to consulting too? Like, how would you think? Like, what would you say about confidence? You think it's something you need to like close a deal, or?
So confidence is tricky because confidence and arrogance are they're not quite twins, but they're certainly related. And
Mm-hmm.
so you want to be confident in your knowledge. You want to be confident in your approach. You want to be confident in your process, but you don't want to be overly confident or arrogant that there's not new information out there or there are not different questions. And so we continually reach back out to make sure that we're answering the question, to make sure that we're solving the right problem. And so confidence goes, it's good to be confident, right? So you can't be, well, you should try this and it might work. Nobody's going to want to follow that. But it's also not, you absolutely should do this. Don't think about anything else. Follow me and just go. And so there's a there's a thin line between being confident in your approach and confident in your process versus not being open to new ideas.
Right.
I
Always
love
be
that
open
answer.
minded.
So my final question for today is, I was very interested when you were talking to me about Butler Academy and how your students start out with a problem, they have to fix it. So I was wondering, what is the atmosphere like at Butler Academy, and what went into making that atmosphere the way it is?
It's a great question. So in my job as a consultant, it's really team-based learning. When I was in business school at Duke, it was a lot of team-based learning. When I look at our educational system today, and your mom is a teacher, and so most of learning today in the classroom is individual based, or it's a teacher talking to a group of students. We wanted to build a more collaborative atmosphere. We wanted to build an atmosphere where you're not only learning from an instructor, but you're also learning from the other students. You're not just learning what to do, you also learn what not to do. And so, let's just talk about a basic problem. We want you to build a robot and program it so that it goes forward 2 feet, turns 30 degrees, and then goes forward 4 feet. And you'll see some robots that don't move forward. You'll see some robots that don't stop. You'll see some robots that go forward and stop and then spin around. And hey, how did you do it? How did you learn it? And so it's really that collaborative learning environment along with the hands-on experiential learning where you're building it, coding it. You can see exactly where it goes wrong. When you see your robot just spinning around, you know what? Something's wrong in the program when we told it to turn 30 degrees. How did you do it? And that's the environment we try to foster at Butler Academy.
That
Wow.
sounds like a great environment, and an environment where students are passionate about learning. I would love to be part of that environment one day. I'm going.
I'll end with this one, Hope, and then pass it back to you. One of the things we talk about in consulting, everyone likes to buy things, but no one likes to be sold. And I think about that with education. Everyone likes to learn things. Not everyone likes to be taught. And so how do you bridge that gap so people are learning on their own and taking ownership of their own learning?
Right.
Love that. I love your quotes all day today. Just keep coming. I'm definitely gonna remember a lot of them. Thank you so much for this time that me and my sister were able to interview you. We learned so much. This was such a pleasure, and we're going to now hand it over to Mora.
This was great. Thank you.
Thank you, Hope. Thank you, Joy.
Th- Thank you, Mr. Butler, for joining us today. Lieutenant General Crawford has a few words.
First of all, wow, what an amazing session. And before I get into just a couple of closing comments, the first thing I wanted to say is how proud I am of our teen ambassadors. Moria, hope and joy, yet another amazing job. I'm leaving this session both inspired and hopeful for our future when we look at kind of that next generation that's coming behind us. So a couple of things, Damon, you hit it out of the park. Thank you very much for not only your leadership, but for your passion. A couple of things that you mentioned here, and so I can't go through all of them, but you talked about the importance of preparing for all situations. You had a quote, and I wrote it down also. When your values are clear, your decisions are easy. Boy, you went straight to the point there. All right. A couple other things you mentioned that I thought are worthy of discussion. You talked about showing up on time, prepared, with a game plan and bringing your talent. I had a similar discussion, or a similar thing that I would say is, people who are prepared always seem to have better luck than those who are not. And then a couple of other points that you made that I think are worthy. As you had a quote, and you talked about the bend in the road is only the end of the road if you fail to make the turn. How inspiring. Last but certainly not least, you talked about something that I like to try and instill in people is do your best every day and continue to challenge yourself to be better than you were yesterday. And so I'll just close by saying, listen, I truly believe in my heart of hearts that our nation's competitive advantage on the global stage continues to be our willingness to invest in our people. And ladies and gentlemen, what you've seen today is probably the greatest gift that we can give. And that's the gift of a good example by this group in investing in our people. So that said, again, another amazing event. Just so inspiring and full of knowledge. And so that said, back over to you, Joy, to close us out.
Thank you to all who joined us for Career Day with Mr. Damon Butler. We hope you were inspired and will walk away with more knowledge. Remember to visit STEMCityMetaverse.com to register for STEM City USA Hackathon, Building the Future Today Challenge. If you win the challenge, we will invite you as a guest ambassador to participate in the November 2022 BEYA Stars and Stripes STEM Career Day. You will get to showcase your metaverse lead to our viewers. Hope you are mute.
My fault. We would also like to give a very special thanks to our Career Day sponsor, Lockheed Martin. They are known for their groundbreaking work in aerospace, arms defense, information security, and technology around the world. Please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay tuned to receive more great information. Thank you, everyone. See you next time.
Calling all future STEM pioneers, leaders, and career champions. Join us on every second Saturday of the month for the BEYA Career Day. BEYA STEM Career Day is all about creating opportunities for students to venture into the world of STEM through the eyes of professionals. You'll meet mentors and presenters that will give you a sneak peek into the many options available to you in the field of STEM. Hosted by teen ambassadors, you'll find yourself among inspiring peers just like yourself that are aiming high for their future. To take part in the BEYA STEM Career Day on Zoom, visit fullstemhead.us and register for the next session. Again, that's fullstemhead.us. BEYA, becoming everything you are.